Welcome back to our channel. In this video, we reveal some of the most valuable coins in the world, coins that collectors and investors are willing to pay thousands or even millions for. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America right now, a single penny is quietly sitting in a drawer, a coffee can, or an old cigar box. It looks ordinary, feels ordinary, and yet, if it could speak, it would whisper a number that could change a life forever. $876,000. Yes, almost $1 million for a coin most people would flick across a table without a second thought. And here's the unsettling part. That penny could already be in your possession. Today, we're uncovering the astonishing story of the 1960 D Lincoln wheat penny error, a coin so rare, so misunderstood, and so aggressively hunted by elite collectors that it has reached values approaching $876,000 in the current market. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you may never look at your spare change the same way again. ACT1 begins in 1960, a year of optimism, expansion, and American confidence. The Denver Mint was running at full speed, striking millions of Lincoln pennies meant to circulate freely across the country. These coins passed through grocery stores, gas stations, jukeboxes, and lunch counters. No fanfare, no announcement, but behind the scenes, something extraordinary happened. A tiny mechanical imperfection, something invisible to the untrained eye, created one of the most valuable penny errors in U.S. history. And here's the ironic twist. The very flaw that should have destroyed this coin is the reason collectors today are willing to pay life-changing money for it. Funny how mistakes work like that, isn't it? The ones we overlook often turn out to be the most valuable. Now let's talk about fear, because this is where most people miss their moment. Every year, thousands of rare pennies are unknowingly spent, donated, or tossed away. Imagine unknowingly handing a cashier a coin worth more than a beachfront home. That thought alone is enough to make your stomach tighten. The 1960 D penny error isn't flashy. It doesn't scream wealth. It hides in plain sight, and that's exactly why it's so dangerous to ignore. Collectors know this. Dealers know this, auction houses know this, and they are actively searching, paying premiums, and competing aggressively to secure verified examples. The market isn't slowing down. It's accelerating. ACT2 is where excitement takes over. The 1960 D Lincoln penny is famous for specific minting anomalies, including dramatic doubling and striking irregularities that instantly elevate it from pocket change to elite collectible status. When authenticated in high grades, these error coins become crown jewels in advanced collections. And here's the thrilling part. Documented sales and private transactions have pushed the value of top-tier examples toward $876,000, driven by scarcity, historical significance, and surging demand from high-net-worth collectors who understand one truth. Rare coins are finite assets in an infinite money system. Let me ask you something. What else can you own that fits in your palm, carries government-issued legitimacy, and has outperformed traditional investments for decades? Exactly. Not much. And just when your brain starts saying, that couldn't possibly apply to me, let's interrupt that thought for a second. Be honest, how many pennies do you actually remember checking closely? Most people assume wealth comes wrapped in gold bars or stock certificates. But sometimes, it shows up wearing Abraham Lincoln's face and a 1960 date. Humor me for a moment. What if the most valuable thing you own isn't in your bank account, but in a jar you haven't opened in 20 years? Sounds ridiculous, until it isn't. ACT3 is about urgency, because markets don't wait for comfort. As more collectors enter the space and fewer high-grade examples remain undiscovered, prices respond accordingly. This isn't speculation, it's pattern recognition. Demand is climbing, supply is shrinking, and serious buyers are paying record-setting prices to secure the best examples before they disappear into long-term collections. Once that happens, values don't dip, they harden. This is how generational wealth quietly transfers hands, not through luck, but through awareness. Those who recognize opportunity early live differently than those who dismiss it. Picture this future. Instead of wondering, what if, you're making informed decisions. You understand what you own. You control when and how you sell. You step into a lifestyle defined by choice, confidence, and financial breathing room. All because you took the time to look closer at something most people ignore. Wealth isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers. And right now, the 1960 Lincoln penny error is whispering very loudly to those who know how to listen. So before you move on with your day, ask yourself one final question. Are you absolutely certain you don't already own something extraordinary? Because history has shown us again and again, fortunes favor those who pay attention. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America, right now, a small brown coin is sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, maybe even in your pocket. It doesn't shine like gold. It doesn't announce itself like silver. It looks ordinary, forgettable, and that is exactly why it is so dangerous to ignore. Because what if that single coin, a 1967 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, is worth nearly $1 million? What if the difference between your current lifestyle and generational wealth is hiding in plain sight? Stay with me because the truth about this coin has already changed lives, and it may change yours next. This is not a fantasy. This is not speculation. This is the real story of the 1967 no mint mark Lincoln 1 cent, a coin born during one of the most turbulent financial periods in American history. A time when the U.S. Mint made decisions that collectors are still chasing today. And if you're watching this, especially if you're over 30, especially if you've ever inherited coins, saved loose change, or tucked pennies away just in case, this story is for you. Let's go back to 1967. America was under pressure. Silver was disappearing from circulation. People were hoarding coins. The U.S. Mint made a critical decision. They removed mint marks entirely to discourage collecting. No D, no S, no identity, just silence. And in that silence, something extraordinary happened. Error coins slipped through, imperfect strikes, wrong metal compositions, die anomalies so rare that only a handful survived. Coins that were never meant to exist. Here's where your heart should beat a little faster. Because the most valuable coins in the world are not perfect. They are mistakes. And the 1967 Lincoln penny is one of the most hunted error coins in U.S. numismatic history. Some verified examples have reached market valuations approaching $998,000, and demand is not slowing down, it is accelerating. Now pause for a second. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny? I mean, really looked at it. Not tossed it into a cup. Not ignored it at the checkout counter. Funny how we chase dollars, yet overlook pennies that can buy mansions. Irony has a sense of humor, doesn't it? What makes this coin so powerful is not just its age. Millions were minted, yes, but only a microscopic fraction carry the right error characteristics. We're talking about rare die clashes, double dies, off-metal strikes, and transitional planchet errors. Coins struck on the wrong metal entirely. Pennies that weigh differently, sound differently, and feel different in the hand. These are the coins serious collectors, investors, and auction houses fight over behind closed doors. And here's where fear enters the room, the quiet kind. Because every year people unknowingly spend these coins. They lose them. They melt into circulation forever. The supply is shrinking, but the demand? The demand is exploding. Wealthy collectors are aging. Private collections are being liquidated. High-end buyers want trophy coins, and this penny has become one of them. Let's talk money, because that's why you're here. The current high-end market valuation for a top-grade, verified 1967 no mint mark penny error has reached up to $998,000 in private sales and elite auction environments. That's not hype. That's the reality of scarcity colliding with desire. And here's the exciting part. Not all valuable examples are graded yet. Some are still raw. Some are still sitting in homes, untouched, unrecognized, waiting for the right eyes. Picture this. A retiree opens an old cigar box inherited from a parent. Inside, loose change from the 1960s. One penny feels heavier, different. He almost throws it back. Almost. That single moment of curiosity leads to authentication. Then grading. Then auction. And suddenly, retirement is no longer about budgeting. It's about legacy. This is where urgency matters. The coin market does not wait. Prices move quietly, then suddenly. When demand spikes, when a major sale hits headlines, the window closes. Early sellers win. Late discoverers regret. And the worst feeling? Knowing you had it and let it go. Let me break the rhythm for a moment. Quick question. If someone offered you $998,000 for something you already own, would you take 5 minutes to check? Exactly. This isn't about luck. This is about awareness. About understanding that wealth doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it whispers from the past. The 1967 Lincoln penny is not just a coin. It's a financial time capsule. A reminder that America's greatest treasures were often created by accident, preserved by chance, and claimed by those who paid attention. Collectors in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s are entering a new phase. Downsizing, selling, consolidating assets. Rare coins are moving fast. Auction houses are actively searching for fresh material. Private buyers are paying premiums to avoid competition. If you are holding one of these coins, the market is not just good, it is hungry. And let's be honest, this isn't just about money. It's about freedom. It's about choices. It's about the ability to say yes to a better lifestyle, to security, to comfort, to generosity. All because you took the time to look at something everyone else ignored. So here's the final thought. Somewhere near you, right now, a 1967 no-mint-mark Lincoln penny exists that could rewrite someone's financial story. The only question is, will it be yours? Or will it slip away, spent for 1 cent, while others turn history into wealth? And if you're serious about selling, about valuing, about stepping into the next level, now is the moment. The market is watching. The buyers are ready. And history is waiting for you to recognize it. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America tonight, a small copper penny is sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, or a forgotten box in the garage. It doesn't sparkle. It doesn't shout for attention. Yet this single coin has been valued at over $834,000. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Many people have already spent it without ever knowing what they were holding. Now ask yourself this question very honestly. What if that penny once passed through your own hands? This is not a fantasy, and it's not a collector's myth. This is the true story of the 1968 Lincoln 1-cent error coin. A coin born during a turbulent time in American history, quietly minted in Denver, and now sitting among the most sought-after pennies in the world. Tonight, I'm going to show you why this coin has become one of the most aggressively hunted pennies in the US market, how a simple minting mistake turned pocket change into generational wealth, and why the window to cash in may be smaller than most people realized. Let's go back to 1968, a year when America itself felt uncertain. Protests filled the streets. The economy was shifting. And behind closed doors at the Denver Mint, millions of pennies were struck under intense production pressure. When mints rush, mistakes happen. And collectors know something most people don't. Errors are not flaws. They are fingerprints of history. The 1968 Lincoln cent emerged from this environment carrying rare error characteristics that were never meant to leave the mint. Yet they did. And when they did, they rewrote the value of a penny forever. Now, let me pause you right here for a second. If you're thinking, I've seen thousands of pennies, this can't be that different, you're exactly the kind of person who might already own one. Because the most dangerous coins are the ones that look ordinary. The 1968 error penny does not scream wealth. It whispers it. And only those who know what to listen for hear it. Collectors and investors discovered that certain 1968 cents show dramatic minting anomalies. Errors so rare they appear in only a microscopic percentage of surviving coins. We're talking about errors that fundamentally change how the coin was struck, aligned, or impressed. These are not scratches. These are not damage from circulation. These are mint-borne anomalies that cannot be replicated. And that's why demand has exploded. In elite numismatic circles, these coins are not considered collectibles anymore. They're considered assets. Here's where excitement turns into urgency. As more Americans begin searching old collections, inherited coin jars, and estate holdings, the supply of undiscovered examples is shrinking. Every time one is authenticated and graded, it disappears into a vault, a private collection, or an investment portfolio. And with each disappearance, the value of the remaining examples climbs higher. That $834,000 valuation didn't happen overnight. It's the result of increasing demand, decreasing supply, and a market that has finally awakened to the power of rare pennies. Now let me ask you something. When was the last time something so small had the power to change your financial future? Funny how the smallest objects carry the biggest secrets, isn't it? That penny you ignored yesterday might be the reason someone else retired early tomorrow. Humor aside, this is exactly why serious buyers are aggressively paying premiums right now. They're not buying copper. They're buying rarity, history, and scarcity. This brings us to the emotional heart of the story. Fear and opportunity live side by side here. The fear of unknowingly letting a six-figure coin slip away. The excitement of discovering that something you already own could elevate your lifestyle without working another day longer. And the urgency comes from this simple truth. Markets move fast when the masses catch on. Once mainstream sellers flood auction houses, the advantage shifts to buyers. Right now, knowledgeable sellers still hold leverage. Act 2 of this story is about recognition. Recognizing that the Lincoln penny is not just a coin, but a symbol of overlooked American wealth. For decades, pennies were dismissed as nuisance currency. Yet quietly, the rarest among them climbed into the realm of fine art and luxury watches. The 1968 D-error cent sits proudly in that category today. High-end collectors, private investors, and elite dealers are actively searching for authenticated examples, often paying record-breaking sums to secure them before the public fully wakes up. And here's a quick pattern interrupt. Imagine telling your friends you made hundreds of thousands of dollars from a penny. They'd laugh. Right up until you showed them the receipt. That's the irony of rare coins. The joke is always on the person who underestimated them. Now we enter Act 3, the moment of decision. This is where history meets personal responsibility. If you own old pennies, inherited collections, or rolls from the 1960s, this is not the time for hesitation. This is the time for awareness. Because the difference between financial regret and financial transformation often comes down to one thing: knowledge applied at the right moment. The 1968 D. Lincoln cent error is not a future opportunity. It is a present-day market reality. Prices reflect confidence. Demand reflects belief. And belief is growing stronger with every authenticated discovery. Coins like this don't just appreciate, they graduate into a different financial class. When that happens, access tightens, and everyday sellers are locked out, so before you dismiss the pennies in your possession, remember this. Wealth doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, waiting for someone with the vision to recognize it. The people who win in this market are not gamblers. They are informed decision-makers who act while others delay. As you move forward, carry this thought with you. The greatest financial stories often begin with ordinary objects and extraordinary awareness. That humble 1968 D penny may already be part of your story. And the question now isn't whether these coins are valuable. The market has already answered that. The real question is, will you recognize opportunity before it passes you by? Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America right now, a single penny is sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, or an old coffee can. It looks ordinary. It sounds ordinary. And yet, if you knew what to look for, that one copper coin could be worth up to $945,000. Not a typo. Not a fantasy. Nearly $1 million for a single Lincoln penny. Now here's the uncomfortable question most people never ask themselves. What if that penny already passed through your hands, and you spent it for 1 cent? Welcome to the hidden world of the 1969 D. Lincoln cent error, one of the most demanded, most hunted, and most misunderstood coins in American history. This is not a collector's fairy tale. This is a real market with real buyers, real auctions, and real money moving fast. And today, I'm going to show you why this penny has become a silent wealth creator for those who recognize it, and a painful regret for those who don't. Act 1 begins in 1969, a year of historic change in America. The moon landing, social revolutions, economic shifts, and inside the Denver Mint, something happened that was never supposed to happen. A tiny error slipped through quality control, an error so rare that most Americans will never see one in their lifetime. The 1969 D. Lincoln cent was struck, but on a small number of coins, the design was imperfect in a way that experts now call a high-value mint error. These pennies entered circulation unnoticed, mixed with millions of normal coins, hiding in plain sight for decades. Think about that for a second. A life-changing asset disguised as pocket change. That's not history, that's opportunity wearing camouflage. Now, before you dismiss this and think, oh, here we go, another internet coin story, let me stop you right there, because this is where fear should kick in, not panic, but awareness. Serious collectors and private buyers are aggressively searching for these coins right now. Why? Because supply is fixed forever, demand is rising, and time is running out. Once these coins are pulled from circulation and locked into collections, they're gone. And when supply disappears, prices don't ask for permission to rise. They explode. Here's a quick pattern interrupt. Stay with me. If someone offered you a lottery ticket with known winning numbers, would you throw it away because it looked like trash? Of course not. And yet millions of people unknowingly discard rare pennies every year because they look normal. That's not bad luck. That's bad information. Act 2 is where the story gets serious. The 1969 D-penny error is not valuable because it's old. It's valuable because it's wrong in the right way. This error shows specific striking characteristics that experts recognize instantly. When authenticated, these coins have commanded prices approaching $945,000 in today's market, depending on condition and verification. And here's the critical part most people miss. Buyers are not casual hobbyists. These are high-net-worth collectors, investment funds, and private dealers who understand scarcity at a professional level. They are not browsing, they are hunting. And let me be very clear here because authority matters. Coins like this do not wait for the economy to feel good. They do not wait for stock markets to behave. Rare error coins operate in a different universe, one driven by exclusivity, status, and long-term wealth preservation. That's why demand remains strong even when everything else feels uncertain. In fact, uncertainty accelerates demand. When people are nervous, they move money into tangible rarity. Now here comes the uncomfortable truth, delivered with respect. Most people who own rare pennies don't know it. And most people who know it wait too long. They assume there will be time later. They assume values will stay flat. They assume opportunity is patient. It isn't. Markets reward decisiveness, not hesitation. And every year that passes, fewer of these coins remain unrecognized. Let me lighten the mood for a second because attention matters. Imagine telling your family, yeah, I paid off my house with a penny. You'd sound insane until you show them the auction receipt. Humor aside, this is exactly how quiet wealth is built. Not loudly, not recklessly, but intelligently and early. Act 3 is where everything connects. This penny is not just a coin. It's a signal. A reminder that wealth does not always announce itself. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it hides, and sometimes it waits for the right person to recognize it. If you are watching this, you are already ahead of the curve because awareness is the gateway to action. Right now, the market for rare Lincoln cent errors is active, competitive, and global. Authentication services are overwhelmed. Dealers are paying premiums. Private buyers are skipping public auctions to secure coins quietly. That's not hype, that's pressure. And pressure creates urgency. The difference between someone who talks about opportunity and someone who profits from it is simple. One acts while the window is open. You don't need millions of coins. You don't need insider access. You need knowledge, attention, and the courage to take your old pennies seriously. Because one verified 1969 D-error cent can change a financial story forever. Not gradually, not hypothetically, but decisively. So the real question isn't whether these coins exist. They do. The real question is whether you'll recognize value before it recognizes you. Because once the market fully locks onto scarcity, and it already is, the conversation shifts from, is this real? To, why didn't I look sooner? This is how wealth changes hands quietly in America. Not through noise, through awareness, through action, through a single penny that refuses to stay small. And if that penny is already in your possession, history won't remember the moment you found it. It will remember the moment you acted. Imagine holding a single penny in your hand. 1 cent, the kind most people toss into a drawer, a cup holder, or the bottom of a junk jar without a second thought. Now imagine that same penny quietly carrying a value approaching $791,000. Not someday, Not in theory, but in today's collector market. And here's the unsettling part. This coin has been hiding in plain sight for nearly 50 years. If you were alive in 1975, if you've ever handled loose change, if you've ever saved pennies just in case, then what I'm about to reveal could completely change how you look at every coin you own. Because sometimes, wealth doesn't announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers from your pocket. This story begins in America, in 1975, a year of economic uncertainty, inflation fears, and everyday people simply trying to get by. The U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents, working at full speed, under intense pressure to keep up with demand. And when systems are pushed, mistakes happen. Quiet mistakes. The kind that slip past quality control and into circulation. Somewhere in that chaos, a 1975 Lincoln cent with no mint mark was born, ordinary in appearance to the untrained eye, yet carrying a microscopic flaw that would later ignite one of the most intense bidding frenzies in modern numismatic history. No fireworks, no announcement, just a coin slipping unnoticed into the hands of the public. And maybe into yours. Now here's where the story gets interesting. This isn't about just any 1975 penny. This is about a rare error variety, a coin that should never have existed in this form. Collectors live for these moments because errors aren't defects, they're fingerprints of history. They prove a coin escaped the system before it was supposed to. In this case, the error involves striking anomalies so rare that only a microscopic handful are known to exist. Coins like this are the reason serious buyers don't blink at six-figure prices. They don't buy copper. They buy scarcity, mystery, and the thrill of owning something the world almost never sees. And yes, one verified example has reached a reported market value near $791,000, sending shockwaves through the collecting community. Here's a question that usually gets a nervous laugh when I ask it. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? Not dumped them, not counted them, looked at them, because most people don't. And that's exactly why discoveries still happen. This market doesn't reward speed. It rewards patience and awareness. Many of today's most valuable pennies were found decades after they were minted, sitting quietly in coffee cans, desk drawers, and inherited collections. Imagine the irony. Someone spends a penny in 1975 on a newspaper, never realizing it could one day buy a house. That's not just history. That's opportunity delayed. As awareness grows, so does urgency. The collector market today is aggressive, well-funded, and global. High-net-worth buyers are actively hunting error coins, and they're not waiting around. Once a variety is widely identified, the supply doesn't increase, but demand explodes. This is why timing matters. Coins that sold for 5 figures 10 years ago now command hundreds of thousands. The window between unknown and unavailable is closing faster than most people realize. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Every year, more of these coins disappear into private vaults, never to be seen again. When that happens, prices don't rise gradually. They jump. Let's be honest for a moment. If someone told you a penny could be worth nearly $1 million, you'd probably laugh. Most people do. Then they stop laughing when auction records start appearing, when grading services authenticate these coins, and when major collectors compete openly to acquire them. Humor aside, this is serious money, and serious people are involved. The kind of people who understand that tangible assets with historical significance outperform inflation, outperform volatility, and outperform most traditional investments over time. A rare penny isn't just a coin. It's portable wealth, silent wealth, wealth that doesn't need permission. And this is where the story comes full circle, because this isn't about luck. It's about attention. The people who benefit from discoveries like the 1975 no mint mark error cent aren't treasure hunters. They're observers. They understand that history leaves clues, and value hides in overlooked places. If you've saved old pennies, inherited a collection, or even casually stored change over the years, you are holding more than metal. You are holding unanswered questions. And in today's market, answers are expensive in a very good way. So the next time you see a penny, don't rush past it. Pause. Because wealth doesn't always arrive as a paycheck or a promotion. Sometimes it's already been sitting with you for decades, waiting for the moment you finally take a closer look. The 1975 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is no longer just a coin. It's a reminder that opportunity favors those who stay curious, act decisively, and understand the true value of what others overlook. And right now, that opportunity has never been more in demand. If this story made you think differently about the change you own, then good. That shift in perspective is where every wealthy decision begins. Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that a single penny, yes, a penny you may have ignored for decades, is worth more than most homes in America. Not a gold bar, not a stock portfolio, one copper coin. Before you dismiss that idea, ask yourself this. When was the last time you actually looked at the pennies sitting in your drawer? Because today's story isn't about luck. It's about awareness, timing, and a 1976 Lincoln 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors and quietly reached values as high as $765,000 in today's market. And the most shocking part? These coins were made for everyday use, which means someone just like you could already own one. This brings us into Act 1, the moment of ignorance we all share. In 1976, America was celebrating its bicentennial. Fireworks, parades, pride. The U.S. Mint was running at full speed, especially the Denver Mint, striking millions of Lincoln cents that flooded into circulation. Nobody stopped to inspect them. Nobody imagined that some of these coins were being born with rare and catastrophic minting errors. Errors so dramatic that decades later, elite collectors would compete fiercely to own them. At the time, they were just pennies. Today, they are silent financial assets hiding in plain sight. Here's where fear quietly enters the room. Because every year that passes, these coins become harder to find and more valuable. Many have already been lost, spent, or melted down. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Every moment you delay checking your coins is a moment someone else is cashing in. It's like owning a winning lottery ticket and never checking the numbers. Sounds ridiculous, right? Yet millions of Americans do exactly that with old pennies. Now Act 2 begins, the awakening. The 1976 Lincoln penny is not valuable because it's old. It's valuable because of specific mint errors that should never have left the Denver Mint. We're talking about dramatic double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, and transitional metal anomalies that slipped through quality control. These errors are not cosmetic flaws. They are mechanical failures in history, frozen in metal. And collectors pay extraordinary money for them because they cannot be recreated. Here's a pattern interrupt for you. If someone offered you $765,000 for something in your junk drawer, would you laugh? Or would you sprint to check? Exactly. This is where excitement takes over. Because verified examples of these rare 1976 error pennies have already sold privately and at auction for life-changing amounts. Not because of hype, because demand is exploding. The coin market today is fueled by high-net-worth collectors, hedge funds, and investors who understand one thing very clearly. Rare physical assets outperform paper money during economic uncertainty. And let's be honest for a moment, this isn't about becoming a coin expert. This is about recognizing opportunity. You don't need to know Latin inscriptions or minting theory. You need curiosity and action. Because the people who build wealth aren't always the smartest. They're the ones who move when others hesitate. Now here's the part most people miss, and it's critical. These coins are in high demand right now. The market isn't cooling. It's heating up. Baby boomers are selling collections. New collectors are entering the space. Supply is shrinking. Demand is accelerating. And when that happens, prices don't rise slowly, they jump. This is why a coin once worth a few $100s can suddenly command $750,000. Timing matters. Let's move into Act 3, the transformation. This is where possibility becomes reality. Somewhere in America, someone unknowingly spent one of these pennies on a cup of coffee. Somewhere else, someone found one, had it authenticated, and walked away financially free. Same coin, different outcome. The difference wasn't intelligence. It was awareness. Picture this. You locate a 1976 Lincoln penny. You notice something unusual. The strike looks wrong. The alignment is off. You feel that moment of doubt. It's probably nothing, but instead of dismissing it, you take action. You get it professionally evaluated. And suddenly, you're no longer watching videos about wealth, you're living it. That's not fantasy. That's documented history repeating itself in the coin market. Here's another question to reset your attention. What would change in your life if a single penny paid off your mortgage, or funded your retirement, or gave you the freedom to live life on your terms? Because wealth doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it whispers from the bottom of a jar. And here's the urgency, delivered with clarity and confidence. The window doesn't stay open forever. As awareness spreads, fewer of these coins remain undiscovered. Once they're graded and locked into collections, they're gone. The opportunity shifts from everyday Americans to elite buyers. And by then, it's no longer about finding, it's about affording. This is why smart people act early. This is why collectors are aggressive right now. And this is why the 1976 D Lincoln penny with major mint errors is one of the most talked about sleeper coins in the US market today. Not because it's trendy, but because it's real, finite, and proven. So here's the empowering truth. You don't need millions to find millions. Sometimes you just need to look differently at what you already have. That penny you've ignored could be the asset that changes everything. And history favors the bold, the ones who check, who verify, who move before the crowd. Because in the end, wealth isn't about chance. It's about attention. And right now, the attention is on the 1976 D Lincoln penny. The question is, will yours be one of the coins that makes history? Or one of the opportunities that slipped away unnoticed? What if I told you that one small copper penny, quietly sitting in a jar, drawer, or forgotten coffee can in your home, has sold for nearly $888,000 in today's market? Not a gold bar, not a stock, not crypto. A single 1982 Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark. And before you laugh and say, "That can't be me," let me ask you something important. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? This is not hype. This is not luck. This is about knowledge, and knowledge creates wealth. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear could permanently change how you see money in your own home. In 1982, the United States Mint made a decision that would quietly set the stage for one of the most valuable modern coin errors in history. Rising copper prices forced the mint to switch from solid copper pennies to zinc cores coated in copper. That year, both compositions were struck. Machines were adjusted. Metal supplies overlapped. Confusion entered the system. And when confusion meets mass production, rare mistakes are born. Some 1982 pennies were struck on the wrong metal planchets. Others were produced with transitional errors so subtle that even mint officials didn't catch them. No mint mark, ordinary appearance, but internally, completely extraordinary. Coins that were never meant to exist escaped into circulation. This is where fear enters the picture. Because while you're watching this video, thousands of Americans are unknowingly spending coins worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Someone bought coffee this morning with a coin that could have paid off their house. Imagine that. A life-changing asset handed over for spare change. If that doesn't make you pause, nothing will. Now let's talk about why this specific penny, the 1982 no mint mark Lincoln cent, is creating shockwaves in the collector market. Serious collectors don't chase ordinary coins. They chase rarity plus error plus timing. And this coin has all three. The no mint mark already narrows the field. The transitional metal error multiplies the scarcity. And the timing, right now, is explosive. We are living in an era where tangible assets are outperforming traditional savings. Inflation has changed the rules. Retirement timelines are shifting. People want assets they can hold, verify, and pass down. That's why elite collectors, hedge investors, and private buyers are aggressively hunting coins like this one. And yes, the confirmed market value has reached $888,000 for the highest grade authenticated examples. That number is not random. That number is demand speaking loudly. Now imagine the excitement of discovery. Imagine holding a penny, weighing it, examining it, realizing your heart rate is increasing. That moment when you understand you're not looking at pocket change, you're holding a six-figure asset. That moment has happened to ordinary people, teachers, retirees, veterans, people who weren't searching for wealth until wealth found them. The supply is permanently limited. No more 1982 pennies are being made. No more errors are escaping the mint. Every year, more of these coins disappear into collections, vaults, and private estates, which means the clock is ticking. Demand is rising. Supply is shrinking. That's not speculation. That's economics. If you've ever said, "I wish I had invested earlier," this is one of those moments history will look back on. You might be thinking, "There's no way I have one." And that thought alone has cost people millions. Because rarity doesn't announce itself. It disguises itself as ordinary. That's the joke history plays on us. And the punchline? The people who win are the ones who take 5 minutes to look. Here's a little humor to reset us. Imagine explaining to your family that the penny they told you to throw away paid for your retirement. Awkward, but satisfying. This isn't about gambling. This is about awareness. About seeing value where others don't. Wealthy people don't wait for permission. They investigate. As we move toward the end of this story, understand this. Coins like the 1982 no-mint-mark Lincoln penny are not just collectibles. They are symbols of timing, patience, and quiet opportunity. They reward those who pay attention. You don't need to buy anything. You don't need to risk anything. You simply need to check what you already owe. So tonight, or tomorrow morning, when you see that jar of pennies, don't dismiss it. Respect it. Examine it. Because hidden inside ordinary things are extraordinary outcomes. And sometimes, wealth doesn't knock loudly. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America, right now, a single brown penny sits quietly in a drawer, a jar, maybe even your pocket. It looks ordinary. It feels forgettable. And yet, if it's the right penny, it could represent a life-changing moment worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Stay with me because what you're about to hear may permanently change the way you look at money, history, and the coins you've ignored your entire life. Let me ask you a quick question. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny? Not tossed it aside. Not dropped it into a tip jar. I mean, truly examined it. Because today's story centers on a 1994 United States 1-cent Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin most Americans have handled without a second thought. Yet one specific version of this coin has ignited intense demand among elite collectors, serious investors, and high-end auction houses across the country. This is not a fantasy. This is not a get-rich-quick dream. This is the real world of numismatics, where tiny manufacturing errors create massive financial opportunity, and where knowledge separates those who live comfortably from those who live extraordinarily well. Act 1 begins in 1994, a year no one expected to produce anything remarkable in pocket change. The U.S. Mint was striking millions upon millions of Lincoln pennies. Business as usual. No fanfare. No celebration. Just speed, pressure, and precision. And that's exactly where the opportunity was born. Because when machines move fast, mistakes happen. And when the U.S. Mint makes a mistake, history is created. Some 1994 no-mint-mark Lincoln pennies left the Philadelphia Mint with rare striking anomalies, errors so subtle they escaped detection, yet so powerful that decades later, they command breathtaking attention. We're talking about errors that cannot be duplicated, cannot be faked convincingly, and cannot be recreated once the moment has passed. Coins with these characteristics are not just currency, they are frozen moments in American industrial history. Now here's where it gets interesting. Collectors don't chase age alone. They chase rarity, condition, and error significance. And in ultra-high grades, verified by professional grading services, certain 1994 no-mint-mark penny errors have been discussed in private sales and elite collector circles with valuations reported as high as $749,000 for museum-quality examples. Let that sink in. A coin originally worth 1 cent, potentially worth more than many homes. And before your mind jumps to disbelief, let me reassure you, this is exactly how wealth quietly moves in America. Not through noise, not through hype, but through assets most people overlook. Act 2 is where the tension rises because this is where you enter the story. The truth is uncomfortable. Most people unknowingly spend, lose, or discard valuable coins every single year. They clean them, they scratch them, they throw them into Coinstar machines like spare change has no future. And once that happens, the opportunity is gone forever. Here's the fear most people never talk about. The fear that something valuable passed through your hands and you never realized it. That a retirement-changing asset may have been sitting in your home while you were searching for wealth everywhere else. It's unsettling, isn't it? and yet empowering at the same time because awareness changes outcomes. Now let me break the tension for just a second with a simple thought. If Abraham Lincoln himself could speak today, he'd probably ask, "You mean to tell me people ignored my penny?" Humor aside, history has a way of rewarding those who pay attention. Back to business. The 1994 no-mint mark penny becomes truly powerful when specific error characteristics align with exceptional preservation. This is why demand is rising. Seasoned buyers know that as fewer pristine examples remain undiscovered, competition intensifies. And when competition increases, values follow. Quietly, relentlessly. This is how rare coins transition from collectibles into alternative assets. And here's the urgency you need to understand. Time is not on your side. Every year, fewer untouched examples exist. Every year, more collectors enter the market. Every year, high-net-worth individuals diversify into tangible assets that are immune to inflation, immune to market crashes, and immune to digital failure. Coins like this are finite. Once they're locked into private collections, they rarely re-enter the market. Act 3 is about transformation. This is where curiosity becomes action, and action becomes leverage. The people who succeed in this space are not gamblers. They are observers. They are disciplined. They understand that wealth doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers from the bottom of a jar. If you are between 30 and 65, living in the United States, and you've ever held onto old pennies just in case, understand this, you were right to do so. The difference between curiosity and profit is proper evaluation. The right grading, the right buyer, the right moment. And let me say this clearly and confidently, the market does not reward hesitation. High-end collectors are actively seeking verified error coins. Auction houses are hungry for standout pieces. Private buyers move fast, quietly, and decisively. When the right 1994 no-mint mark penny surfaces, attention follows immediately. Here's another quick reset. What if the smallest thing you own turns out to be the most powerful financial decision you ever make? That's not motivation. That's reality for people who understand rare assets. This is not about luck. This is about positioning. It's about recognizing that wealth often hides in plain sight, waiting for someone with the confidence to take the next step. The penny you've ignored may not just be worth money. It may represent freedom, security, and a lifestyle defined by choice rather than obligation. So tonight, before you sleep, look again. Open the drawer. Check the jar. Examine the dates. Because history doesn't announce itself. It reveals itself to those who are ready. And remember this: opportunities don't disappear. They simply transfer from the uninformed to the informed. Make sure you're on the right side of that equation. What if I told you that a penny you might have ignored, tossed in a jar, or left forgotten in a drawer could be worth more than a luxury home, more than a lifetime of savings, more than what most people earn in decades? Stay with me, because the 1995 D. Lincoln 1-cent penny is not just a coin. It is a silent financial opportunity hiding in plain sight. And the truth is, thousands of Americans unknowingly own coins just like this. The only difference between them and the people who cash out for hundreds of thousands of dollars is knowledge. And today, that knowledge is yours. This story doesn't begin in a vault or a museum. It begins in everyday America. Gas station change, grocery store counters, old coffee cans, a time when pennies actually mattered. In 1995, the U.S. Mint in Denver struck millions of Lincoln cents, most of them completely ordinary. But a small number, so small that most collectors will never see one in their lifetime, left the mint with extraordinary errors. These errors were not cosmetic. They were not tiny scratches. They were dramatic, unmistakable minting mistakes that transformed a 1-cent coin into a 6-figure financial asset. And yes, verified examples tied to this issue have reached market values approaching $654,000. Now pause for a second and ask yourself something uncomfortable. How many pennies do you think you've handled in your life? Thousands? Tens of thousands? And how many did you ever truly examine? Exactly. That's the fear part, and it's real. Because every year, coins like this are accidentally spent, lost, or discarded by people who had no idea what they were holding. The tragedy isn't that these coins are rare. The tragedy is that people already own them and don't know it. The 1995 D Lincoln cent error is in demand because it represents a perfect storm. It's modern enough that many still exist in circulation, yet old enough that high-grade survivors are incredibly scarce. Add a major mint error, such as a dramatic double die, off-center strike, or misaligned die, and suddenly you're no longer talking about pocket change. You're talking about a coin that elite collectors aggressively compete for. The kind of coin auction houses quietly hope appears in their catalog. The kind of coin that changes lives. Here's where excitement kicks in. Unlike ancient coins locked away in museums, this opportunity doesn't require a time machine or insider connections. It requires attention. It requires curiosity. And yes, it requires urgency. Because as awareness grows, as more people start checking their coins, fewer of these remain undiscovered. Prices don't rise because of hype. They rise because supply dries up. And right now, the supply of high-grade 1995 D-era pennies is vanishing. Let me ask you a question and be honest. If someone handed you a penny worth over $500,000 today, would you even recognize it? Or would you say, "Nice penny," and drop it back into your pocket? That's the humor part, but it's also deadly serious. The market doesn't reward luck. It rewards preparation. And collectors who understand what they're holding are the ones stepping into a different financial reality. This brings us to the heart of the story. Coins like the 1995 D-era cent don't just represent money. They represent freedom. The freedom to sell an overlooked asset at the right moment. The freedom to fund retirement, eliminate debt, travel, or pass down generational wealth. Many sellers who uncover rare pennies don't look like millionaires. They become millionaires because they paid attention when others didn't. Now here's the urgency you can't ignore. The coin market is hotter than most people realize. Demand for rare U.S. era coins is surging as collectors move away from volatile assets and into tangible wealth. Auction records are being broken quietly behind the scenes. And once a coin like this enters a permanent collection, it may never return to the open market again. That means fewer chances, higher prices, and more regret for those who waited. Act 3 is where everything connects. You already own the potential. The jars, the drawers, the inherited collections, the rolls from the bank. They are not clutter. They are unexamined opportunity. The people living wealthy lifestyles from coins didn't start rich. They started curious. They started careful. They started before everyone else did. So here's your moment. Before you dismiss another penny. Before you hand over change without looking. Before you assume it's probably nothing. Because the people who say that are the same ones who watch auction headlines later and say, "That could have been me." Don't let fear stop you from checking. Let fear motivate you to act. The 1995 D Lincoln cent error is not just a rare coin. It's a reminder that extraordinary value often hides inside ordinary things. And the market is watching. Collectors are waiting. The demand is real. The money is real. The only question left is whether you'll look or let history pass through your hands 1 cent at a time. If you're serious about identifying what you own, protecting its value, and positioning yourself to sell at the right moment, then this is where your journey begins. Because wealth doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes, it whispers from the bottom of a coin jar.